Young Reporters Disclaimer. Before we get started, a quick note. The views and opinions you'll hear on the Young Reporters are just those of the producers, our guests, and our friends, and don't represent the policies or official views of the Orin Edson Entrepreneurship Plus Innovation Institute. And remember, the Young Reporters podcast is for entertainment purposes only.
Matchmaker Communications 101, in collaboration with Arizona State University's Edson Entrepreneurship and Innovation Institute, presents The Young Reporters. The Young Reporters chase down ordinary people doing amazing things in the greater Phoenix community and beyond. These inner-city young journalists take their classroom on the air, a class about ethics, commitment, loyalty, and teamwork. When you're on The Young Reporters, be prepared to talk about things you never expected. And now, let's go into the classroom.
So reach for me like the petals of a rose bloom in its season, gentle and slow.
We are back in the classroom once again with the older version of the Young Reporters, and we have a very powerful studio today, just like we do every time we come in the studio. We are at ASU Sky Song. We are privileged to be here working in collaboration with Arizona State University, and my gratitude forever goes to Kelly Randall, sitting just to my right, and Kim Reynolds, sitting at the far end of the table, because they've been friends for a long time. They've been co-workers over a couple different courses, many years in their friendship. They worked at ACYR, which is like was a K through 12 school, Kelly, or was it just?
No, it was a high school, at-risk high school, for those that aren't allowed in public schools anymore due to behavior, academics, attendance.
And that was
pregnant parenting.
That was a great school, because it's like they took into that school, they took the most challenging students probably that had
superstars
that had gotten kicked out of probably every other school they'd been in, and so. And I was privileged to get the chance, thanks to Kelly, to work in that school with the Young Reporters program. So we have a long history, based on what I'm saying. Yes, we are. I get the question all the time. We will have kids soon. We're getting closer and closer. We're having conversations with, I don't want to name too much stuff, but we're working with some major school districts, superintendents. So we will have kids back in the classroom soon. One of our guests on the show today, Tian Riel, who we'll get into a little bit more detail on. Tian is very close to one of my goals, which is to create one of the versions of our show, which would be the homeless reporters. Another version would be the sexually abused reporters. Another version could be anything you can name of people who are communities that are relatively invisible, but we can make them visible by putting them in front of the microphones, in front of guests that can give them housing and jobs and so forth. That's not all we do, but it's one of the many things we can do. And so Tian is a link. Tian linked us up recently to Oscar Pineda, who's not here today. He'll be here at another show. Oscar wrote this wonderful book called Thinking Outside the Boss. He's an entrepreneur type guy. He's mostly from Washington, D.C., which might relate to some of our guests in the studio today in terms of things that they are linked up to or want to be linked up to. But we cover a gamut of, you name it, the arts, the nonprofits, the government, for-profits, Hollywood, you name it. Kelly's got Hollywood connections. I've got Hollywood connections. We cover a lot of ground.
And Bob, don't forget, on March 28th, you will have a lot of kids in the studio as you guys do the podcast from Invention Convention Arizona State Finals.
And this is part of what Kim's job is here. Kim Reynolds, as part of ASU Edson Entrepreneurship and Innovation Institute. Part of her job is Invention Convention, which the big event is March 28th, right, Kim? Is that the big event for the year? Or
that's the big event for Arizona for the year.
So describe that. What is that?
Right now we're in the middle of our regional events, so students are participating to qualify. We have our virtual event deadline coming up next Tuesday to get registered, and then so far we have over 320 student inventors competing in that. Then from there, students get the opportunity to go on to our state finals, which will be March 28th on ASU's Tempe campus in our Memorial Union. We encourage the community to come out and see these young inventors. They will be pitching from 10 to 2, just depending on their schedule. with our award show at 4 o'clock. So these are the best of the best in Arizona. We're expecting about 250 young inventors. And then from there, we still don't have our number yet. I'm waiting to find out. But we will get to choose at least 20, but should be more than that, young inventors to go on to represent Arizona at the U.S. Nationals at the Henry Ford Museum of American Innovation, June 3rd, 4th, and 5th.
Kelly, you were at that last year, right?
Which is an outstanding event. I attended last year's national finalists, and these kids and their inventions are truly amazing. They have, many people coming in to observe these inventions, like Shark Tank. They were trying out for Shark Tank, the TV show. I mean, these are the finalists throughout the country, and it is truly amazing to see. And on that note, what I'm really excited, and I'm going to kind of take over here, is some of my guests I brought in here today are truly, truly amazing individuals. They are from Startup Central.
What is Startup Central?
I've had the pleasure of getting to know them through a friend of mine who is working with them at participating with the startup organization, Startup Central. I'm going to let them describe it. They would do a much better job. But I truly am just amazed at what I've learned about this organization and the individuals participating in it. And with that, Clay, would you like to describe a little bit about what is Startup Central?
We're talking about Clay Richardson here, one of our guests from...
Howdy.
Yes, so Clay, in response to Kelly, what is Startup Central? Is that what it's called, Kelly?
Correct, yeah. Startup Central is a hard tech co-working space and a hard tech and deep tech accelerator.
When you say hard tech, what does that mean?
So things that are more concrete than software, right? So mechanical stuff, robotics stuff, electronics, drones, and stuff like that. And then deep tech is more science and R&D, research and development. And so whenever you have a new sort of novel way of doing something, you go through the deep tech cycle. And then when you bring it to market and production deployment and sales, then you go through the hard tech cycle of making it real at scale.
And is Startup Central the name of your company then, Clay, or what?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And so what's your role in the company?
I am the CEO and CTO of Startup Central, and my co-founder, Cody, over here, is the COO of Startup Central and the CTO of one of our defense tech spinoffs.
And this is Cody Brown you're talking about?
Yes, sir. Cody Brown right here.
That's me.
Okay. And Cody, just what you're, again, Clay kind of introduced you. CTO means Chief Technical Officer. What does that mean exactly? Chief Technology Officer? What does that mean?
Yeah, CTO just generally guides the direction of the technology that a company pursues in using toward achieving the goal of the company, right?
So you guys are co-founders, basically?
Yes.
Okay, congratulations on that. How long ago was this co-founded?
Recently. 5 months?
5 months, 4 months, something like that, yeah.
That's amazing. So you're pretty new and you're off and running.
Yeah, but we know each other pretty well at this point,
and
as
so,
one does with a startup.
And so how did you guys, and you've got Aaron as part of your team too, is that right? Aaron Quisenberry?
That's correct.
So,
Aaron on the day-to-day helps with the community engagement, investor relations, bringing people through, and the networking. He is also the CEO of Freedom Manufacturing, which Startup Central fully backs and supports. And one of the missions of Freedom Manufacturing is to provide veterans access to jobs and training such that any manufacturing or fabrication job or product assembly line that Startup Central or Defense Company One or any of our startups in our batches or spinoffs, any sort of manufacturing, physical warehouse, anything in that sort of line, Aaron is heading up training veterans, bringing them in, training them up, and then managing the assembly lines and sort of their personal growth and achievement.
What's your connection to veterans in general?
In general, my father was a Vietnam veteran, and so he served in the Army over there, and I think he left around the end of '69. And so I am sort of disappointed in how the country in general and the VA treats people who've sacrificed so much for all of the freedoms that we enjoy every day.
Clay, just so you know, one of our other show ideas I've had in my head for 10 years at least, the veterans reporters. Because the veterans have so many issues to deal with, and they need this kind of visibility to get the job givers, the housing givers, because there's a lot of
Yes.
homelessness within the veterans community as well.
Right.
They need an opportunity like to host this kind of a show and let them become visible to all the communities in the country.
Absolutely.
So that they get, so people realize they need to get housing, they need to be hired. We got to help these things.
Right, and they need people to who understand what they've gone through and the sacrifices that they've made and how that has impacted them.
Yeah, so Aaron, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, Aaron Quisenberry, tell us a little bit about yourself. Okay, what's your role with the team?
Hey, I'm Aaron Quisenberry, and I've been following this genius around for about 5 years. And the
The
genius,
genius Clay or the genius Cody?
Clay.
I'm just now learning to follow the other genius around, Cody. But we've participated in a bunch of very fun, harebrained ideas going to the desert.
We like harebrained here, by the way, just say no.
Oh, yeah.
So how did you guys initially meet up?
I used to run a community farm in California with 200 off-grid community farm with 200 free-range pigs, and
Really?
yeah, and part of the community was very much the tech community in San Francisco. So all the burners, all the engineers came and partied and built and fed pigs on this farm.
That's amazing.
Sacramento River Delta.
That's a story. We're running. We got about a minute left in this segment. We do two shows. That's why we do two shows, is to go deeper and deeper into the stories. So give me a 30-second synopsis of what you're talking about.
The guy that created the 3D printer had a pig farm, and I landed on it with my van and ended up taking it over, basically, as far as daily operations go.
Well, so you're revolutionaries too. You take things over.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Well, listen, Tian, real quick, because Tian is going to tie into this a lot. Tian is the only outsider on the guest list today, and Tian is very connected to a whole bunch of different communities, including homeless, and including the St. Vincent de Paul type of things in her past resume. And she's writing a book. So we're going to get to Tian to start segment 2, okay? And so we are the older version of the young reporters. I'm Bob Fishman. I didn't really do much introduction here. Bob Fishman, along with Kelly Randall, Kim Reynolds, Alan Arepa, our tech genius here. We'll be right back after a short break. Stay with us.
Hi, and welcome back to the Young Reporters. Thanks for staying with us. Got a very exciting show we're continuing with today. And with that, Bob, could you tell us about your guest you brought today, Tian?
Yeah, I just have a little story to tell in terms of Tian. Back in 2016, maybe, 15, 16, something like that, myself, Kathy Droz, who's a co-founder of this program, Richard Holland, who's part of ASU, doing digital media for ASU, West Campus mainly, but we went and did a meeting over at St. Vincent de Paul, and we made a proposal. I think we're having a computer issue on this table right here, but that's okay, no problem, Clay. We had a meeting over at St. Vincent de Paul, and we presented in front of like a couple of vice presidents, and Tian was one of the people that they brought to our second meeting with St. Vincent's, and Tian was somebody who was sitting there quietly. And all of a sudden, she says, "Oh, the program you're describing, it sounds just like something I experienced. I think it was out in New York, if I'm not mistaken." And she was talking about a program, I think it was called Take the Lead. And they later made a movie about that program starring Antonio Banderas. And it was about teaching homeless people ballroom dancing. Is that the right, Tian? Is that basically the story?
Exactly it,
Tell
yeah.
us just a brief recap of. And so Tian speaks up and says, "You sound just like that program. You sound similar to that." She is, just like Kim Reynolds, Tian is a dot connector, a visionary. So Tian got on my radar 12 years ago now, and she's not been off my radar ever since. And so Tian, tell a little bit about that day and that meeting, or your experience with some of the working in the community, doing the homeless stuff you've done. Give us a little of your journey, okay?
Yeah, thank you for inviting me here.
And you can mention the book you're writing too, or in the works, whatever you want to go.
As far as that meeting goes, I usually was brought into meetings basically because I have, I guess, a different perspective. And in that one, you were describing something that was just phenomenal to me because I could see the impact that it would have on these kids to be able to be the one questioning. And like you said, be in the room with influential people, and these two would probably never engage together. And so it did kind of remind me of the ballroom dance, which everybody thought I was crazy.
And I think that you were a major reason why we probably got brought in. We did a program with St. Vincent de Paul for a few weeks, maybe a couple months, and it was a phenomenal program. The kids were fabulous. Their families were fabulous. But like a lot of different things in nonprofit world, it doesn't always move forward because sometimes there's so many. So Tian, your journey through, you went into homelessness a little bit too, right? Didn't you experience some of the nonprofit world in homelessness as well?
A lot of it, yeah.
You're at the homeless campus or what?
I was at the homeless campus downtown. It's about a 12-acre campus that has every conceivable resource that somebody experiencing homelessness would need.
And you were dealing with veterans probably regularly there too, right?
Absolutely, yeah, and refugees.
So you had a lot of nonprofit experience, a lot of helping people. So is that your heart? Is that where your heart mostly is, in working with groups and people like that, people in need?
Yes, I'm usually looking at a deeper psychological level.
Meaning what?
Meaning, for instance, when I started working with the homeless, it was a very uninviting place. And the kind of environment and the lack of activities really starts to make people stagnate and go deeper into a depression. And the group gave me free rein. And I started changing the environment. I started creating programs like a library. A wonderful law firm donated us all the furniture they had in the law firm. So we had this amazing library that they could sit in and read a paper. We had a post office. The dance program was probably the most controversial because nobody could understand why people being homeless and ballroom dancing would help. But it was the contrast between homelessness and ballroom dance.
And so what did that do for them? What did that do for them?
Well, I mean, I had a lot of different examples. It just made them see themselves differently, see possibilities that they never thought was ever going to happen. And they also didn't think they'd be able to do it. So one of the things we did was start bringing them to a dance studio because they thought we had kind of dumbed down the dances. And so we took all the graduates of it to a dance place, and they saw that everybody else there was doing the same moves and that they were keeping up with them. So it was a real self-esteem booster, a self-image changer for them.
And I think that's partly what relates. People have gone through PTSD or any other self-esteem attack. It's building back that value inside the person that I have something to contribute.
And little does most of the people in this room know, Aaron, I just asked if it was okay for me to bring this up with him, but Aaron he's a vet, and he experienced a bit of homelessness, and I asked him if he was okay to talk a little bit about that. Aaron, what do you want to share?
Yeah, the first thing that I thought of that struck me when you talked about ballroom dancing for the homeless is that the thing I try to always do when I see someone on the street is touch them in a positive, physical, reaffirming way. And I think a lot of them forget what good touch feels like. Mm-hmm. And I think that having the motion and the touch of dance is something that can remind them that they're human.
That's fabulous. That
is
fabulous.
Quite a few of the women had experienced tremendous physical abuse, domestic and just general, and they struggled when it came to standing in the frame that you're required to do for ballroom dance. But little by little, a lot of the people who were also in the class were extremely supportive. And one woman came up to me, and she was like, "This has changed my entire life." Because one of the gentlemen looked exactly like the person that was beating her on a regular basis. Wow. And she left, and he saw that she was uncomfortable, so he just would back away. And then one day she said, no, it's okay, and danced with him. So it sounds small, but it was gigantic for her.
Extremely huge barrier to break through. That's a great story right there. I enjoyed that.
Aaron, how, as part of like going from your experience, and you connect up with Clay and Cody, how does that filter into what they're doing? Because we need to get more familiar, deeper into what you guys are doing. How did your experience as a veteran and as a once homeless veteran, how did that tie in with these guys?
Well, me and Clay have been honest hobos on and off.
What does
our
that mean,
entire
honest hobos?
relationship.
What does that mean, honest hobos?
We just end up in the desert in our cars with our dogs doing experiments on soil, or shooting our rifles in a respectable way at a good range. Like
He shot a hole in his car door. It was parked right next to my car.
That's a respectable way, is that right?
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
respectable. Okay, all right.
Yeah. But it was good. We're having a good old time, overlanding in nature and just like grounding again. Because every once in a while I get annoyed with laptop people whose only thing, the strongest thing they can hold is their opinion, right? And so getting out and doing manual labor and roughing it in the wild is like a nice grounding anchor for perspective.
So again, Aaron, you're sort of new into their world, relatively new, or what?
I would say that at one point in my life, I lived in a high-rise in the downtown LA with a pool on top of my roof, and then I fell from that tower and experienced the parts of life that this woman's very educated in, and I went from being a very self-assured man to being extremely humbled, and I got to learn what it's like to be in all of the brackets of class.
Do kids need to hear that, by the way? Kids will love to hear your story, and that's amazing. So going from the high to the low and then coming back again.
I would like to add to that, entrepreneurs need to hear that. That's a part of being an entrepreneur, is that dynamic of where you can be riding high and then all of a sudden, you're not so riding high. And that dynamic, I think, sometimes is left out in the teaching of being an entrepreneur, but that's a great point that I think it should be included in that teaching.
So, Aaron, as you team up with these guys, what's the how does the business that you guys are doing together, how does that all connect in through your experience, and as you connect up, how does that relate to the ongoing business?
Yeah, to answer your question that you started with, I'm hyper social. I like to hyper connect. I like to talk to all of you. I like being in this space, and we're all here. I don't mean to toot my own horn, because I reach out to people, and that is, in my opinion, the most important thing that I can bring to this business. So
it's a great balance of energy with engineering, which is kind of inherently antisocial. So having Aaron's energy around to balance that is actually really, it's a good way to ground ourselves.
So Cody, does his presence help you get out of whatever shell that might be more natural for you? Is that helpful to you?
Definitely some growing that we're pushing each other to do in the, I like to call it the autism sort of daycare that we're all in here.
We're all learning and growing every day. No, we all have our own unique talents, and that's why we are together as a group.
By the way, I really appreciate you having the guts to do this microphone stuff today, because I know it might not be the most natural, but that's what this is all about.
Clay and I both actually have pretty good experience going back and forth between full engineer and full extrovert. And
that's a really interesting combo.
Yeah, it just depends on where we are at in a project or an idea or a product.
So go ahead, Clay. I'm sorry.
Oh, I was just saying, yeah, because to elaborate on that point, when you're in engineering mode, sometimes you get really frustrated with the project and the pieces and the things, and then someone comes up and wants to talk to you, and so your EQ is not very high, and so then you're very what they call is like a crotchety engineer, right?
I like that.
Crotchety engineer. That's a good brand.
Yeah, very grumpy, but the challenge is growing into the switching between the two, and then giving people space to be their sort of different shape, right? Because when you build teams.
Sorry to cut you off, Clay, but
no
we are
worries.
about to go on our next break, and I want to pick it up exactly where we left off, so please remember where we're at. There's a lot of exciting things that Startup Central is doing, and I don't know how much they're allowed to talk about on air, but it'll blow your mind. So stay tuned. We'll be back after this.
Welcome back to the not quite as old as we usually are, older version of the Young Reporters. I'm Kim Reynolds, and in the studio with us today are some amazing people. We wrapped up last session. Clay was really talking about building the team and the different personalities that come in. So if you want to just continue on with that, Clay, that was really...
Right, yeah. Thank you. So one of the challenges that I've been facing and growing into building a team of exceptional people, right? So If you hire a bunch of normies, then you're going to get normie sort of performance. But one of our strengths is that we have exceptional autism and special interests and focus that people have. And one of the things that I found is very important is that these exceptional people have space around them that are different shapes, and some may be jagged, some may be smooth from time to time. It may switch between that sort of Kiki and Booba sort of shape feeling. And so just giving people enough space around them to not take everything that they say in the moment 100% literally and finality, right? And giving people space and time to think about things and communicate. And as long as everybody's able to, sit down later and talk about it and work through it, then we're able to have that sort of exceptional out of distribution performance. And so,
So Clay, do you specifically? I mean, is it just the talent pool, or do you? My wife was a speech pathologist. She works with. One of her specialties was autism and Asperger in particular, which I think you guys probably are more in the Asperger range, is my guess, probably. But do you specifically target people like that to be part of your team?
I've definitely been described as an Asperger before.
In the full Asperger meaning, right?
Right. Yeah. And so it's more of like a identification, right? Like it's sort of a handshake. So when you hang out with people and you can tell how much of a normie they are and like how far out of distribution they are in sort of different veins and stuff like that. And so one of the goals that we have at Startup Central is to put up the bat signal to find the others, right?
So you have, that's with intention, is that right?
Yes, yeah, we are definitely looking for out of distribution people, and my personal preference is it's fine to be an asshat if you are right most of the time, but not be an unreasonable asshat.
And, I'm going to bring it into a little bit layman terms because I am not as smart and genius as my fellow guests here today. What I learned about them that I just found just completely inspirational. They are creating things and creating products, ideas that nobody has thought of creating yet. What they come up with and the creativity and the ingenuity amongst this group is just outstanding. And they are solving problems that nobody has figured out how to solve yet. And I know they're working with a lot of different possible contracts, and some of it I don't know what they can speak about on air, but I'm telling you, meeting this group, I had the pleasure to meet a bunch of them this past weekend, and it truly was inspirational to see what a group, like-minded people, when they come together, what they can accomplish.
I see Cody and Kim dying to get in here, I think.
Oh, I was just going to say real quick that I got to go Tuesday and meet the whole crew. And
so what did you experience? What was that like, going wherever you went to do this?
It was the most amazing.
What was amazing about it?
The energy in the room and the ideas. And then what I saw is that if you come up and you're like, here's a challenge we got to solve, la 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 la, and they're like going, okay, and it's not we can't do that. It's like, okay, and let's do it. Let's just go. There's no.
So
it can't be done.
What specific? Can she talk about product that she saw?
We'll let Cody talk about some of the things because he knows where his parameters are.
What are some of the products that you do or that are catching so much attention in Kelly and Kim? What are the things you're doing that are catching their attention?
Yeah, mostly just working on projects and products that we find interesting and that we love doing for the technical challenge. It's one of those things that, like Clay was saying, it takes a certain type of person with a certain type of way to go after projects to this extent. But some of the things that we're working on, drone detection, doing it.
What does that mean, drone detection?
Yeah, so drones, like specifically like little quadcopters, are a huge problem in the military world right now because there's no way to detect that they exist.
We just had an example of that in the news currently in El Paso, where all of a sudden they had to shut down the airport because they have a drone issue. So is that the type of thing you guys can fix?
Yes, exactly. We came up with a novel detection solution, and the technical term for the machine is electromagnetic field tomography. Multi-axis, wide aperture. It listens for the unavoidable physical characteristics of a noisy, high current density power system in flight.
I love the. Nobody understands, but it sounds good.
Right. Well, the ASU kids will know.
Okay,
yes. I know what he's saying.
So what? Well, Kim, you're a visionary, So come on,
I'm also a drone pilot.
Oh, that's true. You're a drone pilot.
Well, let me ask a question. What happens if they fix the sound if they're able to muff it?
Well, they would have to. Okay, so I have to be careful with what I say here because it's a cat and mouse game, right? And so I have the solution
You don't
to
wanna give
detect the
secrets away,
thing,
right? Yeah.
Right, and then I don't want to give away the mitigation to our solution before we
Yes.
penetrate the market enough, and then we come out with a drone that is like able to circumvent.
Yeah,
the
there are
detection.
mitigations that could be done, and then
if you're smart enough, yeah.
we're also ready to be ahead of a couple.
You're ahead of the
levels
game right now.
that.
So
Yeah.
you're way ahead of the game right now, right? And so
Yeah.
some of these products that Kim and Kelly were talking about. These are things that are available for market currently, or what?
We're currently negotiating pilot programs and contract values and stuff like that, but we are, looking to deploy a handful of these systems to protect areas like airports and, critical infrastructure, military
and
bases,
some
stuff like that.
Other products that we're working on in the same space: outdoor inspection robots with charging trailers that let them autonomously
The idea
operate
of that
for
would be
6 months.
they're autonomous robots, meaning they could go approach a dangerous vehicle and see if there's something dangerous inside it, that type of thing?
Correct, yeah. And Cody designed the autonomous trailer system, the ground vehicle bot, to come out and pull its own trailer to the next location, and it has solar panels and, inspection for solar fields, as well as, scheduled patrols of areas and rapid response.
Yeah, so originally designed for long-term outdoor inspection of like a solar field, which could take months.
What motivates you? What you guys? You're coming from your own interests, I assume. So, what did you have something you thought was cool, or did you see there's a need out there for something? What was the path where this was something that you developed recently or earlier, whatever?
Yeah, pretty much everything is to fill a need that exists in the market or with a particular customer, or like drones, right? It's in the news. Everybody's trying to solve it. So pretty much everything comes as a result of there being a need. And then, just based on whatever we are super interested in.
Can I ask
and our
the hypo-
personality quirks are like, we see something and we're like, we could do a better job. And then we
Good.
start
Yeah.
doing it. And,
That's what I mean. They see a problem, they're like,
So
I
startups-
know a solution. So, for example, with your drones, I'm very curious, like search and rescue might be an option. Is that, Nancy Guthrie is all over the news nonstop right now. Your drones have the ability to recharge without having to come down, take the battery out, and plug it into the wall, like my husband's drone.
Correct. Yeah, there's an automated housing clamshell sort of launch and
Drone in a
recovery
box.
system. Yeah, drone in a box is the common vernacular.
So I saw the Mars type trailer. Is that what rolls out? Some of I don't know how it relates to you there.
Yeah, so that's for essentially like off-grid charging of the robotic systems for a sustained period, 6 months or more, solar and propane backup. Just to recharge those robots every day to let them do their thing.
And then we will be putting the drone in a box on the trailer. So there'll be
Yeah.
a drone in a box on
We're
a
in-
trailer with a drone inside of the trailer.
We're in our segment 3 of show 1. I want to just define just a little bit tighter. You guys, Startup Central, what, 5 months old, you said?
Correct.
So
Well-
we hooked up 5 months ago to
Me and Clay did.
Yeah, to do the new sort of founder thing. Blake Spurgeon and I had originally started Startup Central, I think, in March of last year, and this was literally just meeting every week with action items and then figuring out what to do.
And before all that, were you heading in that direction, or is this something that's pretty much in the last year?
So when I was in the Bay Area, I was in Silicon Valley for 15 years. I had an artist warehouse. I had 3 shipping containers as part of a community there. They got evicted. We all got evicted because the marijuana grow bought the operation and kicked everyone out. And so ever since then, I've been looking for a warehouse spot to set up and tinker with art and tinker with robotics and like other things like that. And so I found here in Phoenix, there's very cliquey with the artists and the investors and the tech people. And so whenever you go into an area and it's very cliquey and closed off, all of those people are king of their own little hill, right? So it's very comfortable for them. And so it's easy to go into a spot and be open and innovate and draw that sort of attention. And that forces them off of their comfort chair and forces them to innovate or be
So
stagnant.
you're seeing Phoenix is a pretty cliquey area, is that right?
Yes, I
That's
believe so.
interesting. That's
Yeah.
very interesting to hear that, yes.
For the artists and stuff like
And
that.
so did you make a ton of money in Silicon Valley to set you guys up for the future, or what?
Well, I made a lot, and then I spent a lot, and I have a lot of skills to show for it, and a lot of stuff that I have to manage. I've spread across multiple states and shipping containers.
And so this Startup Central, this is the newest version with all these great ideas, and you're dead serious about to make big explosive progress, I guess.
Right, and it's more of like a business supporting, sustaining sort of way, because the Artist Warehouse was, very grimy, grungy, lowbrow kind of West Coast art.
And so we're about to go to another break here. We are down to our last 30 seconds. We are the older version of the Young Reporters, having a fabulous show. Thank you, Kelly, for bringing in wonderful guests, and to Bob for bringing in Tian as well. And anyway, everybody's a team here. We're all a team. We'll be back in a few seconds. Stay with us for our final segment of this first show.
Welcome back to the older version of the Young Reporters. I'm Kim Reynolds, and I want to bring this back around. One of the really neat things that I've gotten to know about this in talking with Clay and Cody and Aaron and some of the rest of their team, the underlying purpose about Startup Central is really about bringing manufacturing back to America. You guys whoever wants to take that up and run with it.
Yeah, one of the main goals and core missions that we try to keep in sight and in mind and in heart is that reindustrialization to make America manufacture again. Because I remember when you would get things and it would say made in USA, and you're like, yes, that's great. Because right now you go to Home Depot and you get a hand drill, and any hand drill that you pick, it's made in another country. And so one of the consumer products that we have on our roadmap is to design and build and manufacture a hand drill that is made in the USA at our facility. And the problem with reindustrializing and bringing manufacturing back is that the reason why MBAs and bean counters and spreadsheet people have outsourced these things is because it is cheaper to do so and they get more profit. So to be the first people that bring it back, you have to eat the pain, eat the cost where it doesn't make sense. The spreadsheet people are going to tell you this is not how you run a business, right? And so you just have to be headstrong and do that as your passion, as your guiding star of, yes, I know it's going to be expensive. Yes, I know it's going to be painful. Yes, I know somebody has to do it, right, in order to bring that sort of momentum back to the States of making things here, innovating here, and building our country back better.
Thank you. I love that. And, Americans, we love our cheap overseas stuff, but then we want to stand up and shake our fists and say, look at the horrible conditions in the other part of the world. Guess what? Buying cheap crap encourages that to go on. By bringing the manufacturing back to the United States, not only are we elevating what's going on here, but now these other countries are going to have to start stepping up their game as well. And I think it's just amazing, and that you're really focusing on that and bringing the manufacturing back, figuring out the ways to do things. And to be honest, other parts of the world don't have to comply with some of the same laws we do as far as not just worker safety, but environmental safety and everything. I think it's a win-win for everyone.
Yeah, definitely. There is an unseen and unthought of karmic cost to cheap electronics and cheap rare earth elements and the iPhones that we use every day. And people have sort of dug into, and investigated the situations behind these, but I envision a distributed rare earth mining and processing where all of the rare earth concentration and refinement happens on machines that can be forklifted and rolled through a standard 34-inch doorway in distributed warehouses across the nation, and people bring these rare earth element, rich soils to these locations, and in one side of the building you have the trailer loads of dirt come in, and the other side you have these ingots and other processed materials coming out.
And so that's so you're saying almost like a assembly line in one location of all things. Is that what you're kind of saying?
A distributed assembly line of processing, right? And so it would be great if somebody, took this idea and ran with it, because we have so much stuff to do, but it's essentially the Uber for rare earth elements, right? So paying people to bring us dirt like recycling cans.
In our next show, I really want to go into really significant depth on a lot of these things. But to finish out this first show in the next 10 minutes or so we have, where are you at this point with Startup Central, with the new business that you guys are doing that doesn't seem very new? It seems like you guys are up and rolling and just ready to dominate a marketplace in whatever it is you're doing. So define really tightly right now, where are you at in terms of producing revenue currently and shipping out product? And I understand that there are companies who want to buy you, but you guys, the prices they're offering are way too little for what you guys do. So just fully define a little bit more of your current, where you're at business-wise currently, and what you see is 2 years from now, 5 years from now, and so forth.
Well, I mean, to the point of timeline, AI agents and the capabilities of these models. As an AI researcher that's worked on the forefront of some of these concepts.
You're talking about you as an AI researcher?
Yes.
Okay,
yeah,
good.
as sort of like a hobby part-time thing, every now and then.
More of our team is pretty right at the edge of what AI can do.
Okay.
And it's helped us accelerate us to where we are now.
Yeah, and so the AI emergent novel comprehension and cognitive reasoning skills is accelerating individuals, 100 to 1,000, 10,000x. And so the timelines for things have been rapidly compressed, and we're trying to find all of the areas that we can apply these novel AI tools and agents and thinking processes to in order to speed things up. And so in relation to your question of where is Startup Central, where are the products, and where is the revenue, and what stage we're at, we have a lot of prototype products which we are still smoothing the user and customer experience over to bring to market. And so a lot of our products are in that death valley of you do R&D, you have a prototype, and you have to go through the death valley to get to a manufactured product on the market. And so
by Death Valley, you mean it's going to make or break, or what does that mean, Death Valley?
A lot of it's very expensive, right, to do that sort of thing, because you can make something work in the lab, you can make something work in an experiment, but to make it work in the real world at scale with a bunch of customers is where a lot of companies die in the hard tech and deep tech space. And so we're bringing that forward and looking for pilot projects and programs and initial deals to, for example, inspect and secure solar fields that are spread out across places that are having theft and vandalism.
And because you got lots of Silicon Valley experience, you know the routine, you know the procedure. Do you have the venture capital and stuff like that too, or what?
Right, and so right now we are buttoning up the last safe investor contracts and stuff for seed investment for Startup Central, and we are onboarding onto the DealBox's platform for our Series A. They have an awesome investor data room and compliance and know your investor due diligence stuff. And so, Startup Central is moving into Series A fundraising, and Defense Company 1 is still doing our seed investment with angel investors, and we are in talks with venture capital firms, and our angel investors are strategizing to fill out the seed round for Defense Company 1 in order to push the institutional investors into Series A. So that's sort of like a funny, FOMO.
Are you dealing with the classic known names of like Stanford University, the Peter Thiel world, and all that stuff? Is that who you're kind of targeting or dealing with to some extent, or what?
So one of the parties that we are engaged in discussions with is a big, long-time government contractor that is in charge of finding and deploying a solution for drones for the entire government umbrella thing. So you've heard of this name, and so I don't think we can discuss that right now until things are done. But just they have recently partnered with some Silicon Valley capital firms to grow their corporate venture capital, I think is the term that they're using for that. And so it's a very exciting time to have a magic listening box to detect drones that everybody wants, but nobody knows how to build yet.
Yeah, and
Except these guys.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. And so all of our products and projects have kind of received quite a bit of attention, and there's a lot of investment that we are talking with currently.
So
for everything.
In your vision, let's say this all comes into fruition. Long term,
If?
or longer term,
When?
where do you go
When?
with it? What's your, if all of a sudden this entire industry starts saying these are the guys,
Yeah. So
your next
currently,
products, your next, or even going away from your next big visions, your philanthropic side, where are you headed in the big vision?
So and I have to explain to people when I tell them what a Schelling point is, right? So a Schelling point is the place that two people in a coordination game without any communication or foreknowledge would pick, right? So if you had to meet someone that you could not communicate with them, you both would pick, what is that train station in New York?
Grand Central?
Grand Central.
That one,
Okay,
right?
okay,
You would
yeah.
meet at Grand Central Station,
Oh, gotcha,
right?
okay, yep,
right?
yep,
Without
yep.
any communication, be like, oh, how are we going to meet in New York, right? And so the Schelling point, we are aiming to be the Schelling point for people to work on things that are more dangerous than they should do in their garage, right? If you need, a forklift, you need a CNC machine, you need a laser cutter, you need to weld these things together, you need to scale your small business up and down, right? And do assembly lines for a certain period of time. You can do 1,000 square feet industrial space month to month, no commitment, right? Which is unheard of right now. You can't even get a forklift at WeWork.
yeah, so I mean, the dream, the far off goal is to create essentially the Silicon Valley for hard tech startups around what we're doing and where we are.
That's a really good definition. It kind of synopsizes things really well. We're coming to the end of this show. I want to just reintroduce everybody and thank everybody for their vulnerability, their forthrightness, their willingness to share in an environment that's pretty secretive. I give everybody a lot of credit for this. We have had with us today, we've had Cody Brown, Clay Richardson, Aaron Quisenberry, Tian Riel. I'm Bob Fishman, along with Kelly Randall, Alan Repo, who we've barely heard a word from today, and Kim Reynolds. We will be back for our second version of this show with this phenomenal group and hopefully drive their mission forward. Thank you for being with us today. Thank you all for being so vulnerable to this process. We'll be back with the Young Reporters for our next show.